Some of the same things and some new things in Stunning Surprise 2. This is the climax and the curtain dropper for the end of Act 2. And a lot goes, I mean, the bulk of your movie. I mean, Act 2 can be 70 pages, even more, of your screenplay. And that's why it deserves a lot of attention and a lot of thought and planning, and we'll get to that. It is the biggest reversal in the whole movie. This is the biggest dramatic event in your whole movie. Takes place in an instant, yes. Shocks and surprises, yes. But here, the hero's plan is destroyed. That means, at the beginning of Act 2, the hero kind of picks themselves up, dusts themselves off, and now they have a very highly specific and difficult task ahead of them, a goal. So they start formulating a plan. And sometimes they start gathering allies. It's, Campbell says, sorting out enemies and allies in that first section of Act 2. Getting their feet on the ground, forming a plan, and moving forward with it. And toward the end of Act 2, you know, as the action is rising toward the end of the act and the climax, it just might be possible for the hero to pull this off. It's looking more and more like it's feasible. And then boom, Stunning Surprise 2 hits, and the plan is totally obliterated. The plan no longer exists. And it is called the hero's darkest hour. Now it looks like the hero is finished. And let me remind this, it sounds a lot sometimes like I'm only talking about action movies. That's not the case. This, in variable degrees, is all genres, family dramas. This is what they are too. It's just that these things, these contests, these conflicts become between two people. One person trying to dominate another or convince them of something. All of this is true for all genres that work for audiences, okay? And it's often called the hero's darkest hour. But I throw this in because I've got an example coming up, again, to show you a variation. About 5 or 10% of all the movies that work have a reversal to the positive. In other words, by the end of Act 2, the hero is kind of down. And then it has to be the biggest reversal. You can't go super down if you're already kind of down, and it goes up. And the big difference is when you do that, and that's fine. I mean, there's a lot of romantic comedies and dramas and other things like that. Bridesmaids is like that. Erin Brockovich is like that. But what that means is Act 3 has to be very short because the hero has already won. See? So the obligatory scene and the denouement, you get on with those and you wrap it up and you're out. Your story is over. Okay, let's take a look at an example. Not yet. This is Stunning Surprise 2 of The Matrix. Okay, this is a more traditional Stunning Surprise. Okay, how many have not seen The Matrix? Okay, write it down. All righty, good. Make a note. This was a genre-changing movie. I mean, we've seen all kinds of movies like it now, and the twists and the concepts that were used in The Matrix. But when The Matrix came along, ooh, it had impact. It was fresh. These story ideas, the concepts and the way they were executed, they ultimately affected science fiction forever as a genre. So, okay. This is a one-hero movie, as all of these are, and the hero is Neo, and he just saved the life of his mentor, Morpheus, and he was helped by the love interest character, Trinity, and he got them to a phone booth, and that's how the technician on their ship, the Nebuchadnezzar, on the rebels' ship, that's how Tank gets them out of the Matrix back on board the ship, and he got Morpheus and Trinity back on the ship. But then the bad person shows up, the adversary, Agent Smith shows up, and they have a big fight, and it's like a fight to the draw, and Neo is making a run for it, but he had a cell phone, so he's still talking to Tank, and Tank is sending him to another place where he can be extracted by telephone. Okay, they're running, the robots are running after him too, and one of the better adversaries in film, Agent Smith, is also close on his tail, closer than Neo actually realizes. Their cannons are being shot, zinging. And oh yeah, this too. This is what I mean about visual metaphors. We spend a couple seconds going back to the Nebuchadnezzar, which has also been simultaneously attacked by these robotic spiders that are just evil looking through and through. And they are literally tearing the seals off of it, the siding off of it. And they are seconds from storming inside and killing every human being in the Nebuchadnezzar, one of the few groups of human beings still alive in this world. What this does, though, what this does is remind us, the audience, visually, that it's not just Neo trying to save his own life. Neo is responsible for all of these people, and that's what makes him a hero, a true hero. He is doing, yes, he's in danger, but he's got to get back for the protection of other people, and that's the definition of hero. There it is. Okay, he's running down a grungy hall. Remember that? Those of you who have seen it. It's an interesting climax. It's visually quite striking, too. He's running, he's being chased, and he hears a phone ringing behind the door. I guess it's just where Tank told him it would be, and he better get there fast. And he goes up to the door. I wonder why they picked room, 303. Usually when a filmmaker puts a number like that, it has significance. Maybe it's Trinities, 2 Trinities, I don't know. But the phone is ringing, and he throws the door open. Oops. Agent Smith is waiting for him with this hand cannon pointed at his chest. It's over. There is no escaping for Neo under this circumstance. So, but wait a minute. I'll go back. See, his face is smaller, but look at the expression. Eyes wide, mouth open, stunning surprise 1. Yes, Neo, you're dead. That is pretty stunning surprisey. Then he braces himself to take it like a hero. And he's shot 6, 7, 8 times, I forget. It's just the way they sound, the juice to the sound to make those sound like cannon shots blasting out of that gun. It's very powerful. And, ouch. And then there's another cut back to the Nebuchadnezzar to remind us visually. We have to be shown physically and visibly. That's how we get our information in movies, in visual medium. We are once again reminded that if you die in the Matrix, you die for real. And that's what this little cut is reminding us. And this is shot, it's got sparks going on in the background. There was some, as the little spidery things are coming, it's like the whole place is falling apart, but there's heavenly sparks also. And kabang, he keeps pumping him in, and there he is, the blood smear on the wall, fading, going, and oh yeah, poor Morpheus, because Morpheus is the mentor character, and he had all his bucks, he was convinced that Neo was going to be the one, the prophesied person who would come and save humanity from the machines, right? That's a thing running through the whole film. It's very religious, it's like a Christ metaphor, truly, the whole film is. And he can't believe it. My God, how can he be wrong? If Neo is dead, Neo hits the floor, dead. He's shot so many times, he has to be dead. He falls to the floor, he looks pretty dead. And then Agent Smith has one of his guys say, check him. So he goes up and he's gone. You know, he's as dead as they can make him, right? We get it. He's dead. Goodbye, Mr. Anderson. Okay. Biggest reversal in the whole film? You betcha. Takes place in an instant? Yes. Shocks and surprises? Of course. Hero's plan is destroyed? I would say so. If you're dead, that kind of does in your plan. And it's often called the hero's darkest hour. It is somebody's darkest hour there, I would say so. So, and it was very shocking in the theaters. I don't know if you guys know the first time I saw it. What? How can they just kill off the hero, you know? But they did, and then did something very interesting from there. But that is Stunning Surprise 2. Here is my second. Hang on, I know. It's tough. Just give me a little longer. I got this one more example, and then I'm going to show you some stuff you're not going to hear anywhere else. So how crazy is that? Okay. A second example in a completely different kind of movie, in Erin Brockovich, right? She's been told, she and Ed, the mentor character, her attorney, have been told they need 164 or 167 more signatures. They're going to have it decided by a judge rather than a jury, which takes years. They said, okay, they're going to arbitrate with a judge. So she's finally got all the signatures she needs, but what she doesn't have is the smoking gun, the absolute proof that PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, because it was based on a real story, that Pacific Gas and Electric knew that they were poisoning the residents of Hinckley. That is what the smoking gun is in this particular story. And nobody's come anywhere near that. She goes, she gets signatures, no smoking gun. So, end of a very long day, but she's gotten her signatures, so she goes to a local bar and coffee shop place. But she's still deeply worried about not having any smoking gun. And then down the bar, there's Mr. Sleaze. Remember? Charles Embry, I think, was the character's name. He's been kind of stalking her for a little while, since the midpoint. Just this kind of sleazy guy in the background who's looking funny and eyeing her funny. And he starts to chat her up. The guy tries to start a conversation. This is not a good time, place, or circumstance for Erin. She needs like a hole in the head. And then he moves in a little closer, oozes down a couple of chairs, right? He slides closer, tries more compliments, says things like, I think you're the kind of person I could talk to. The intention, it's double entendre, of course, but it's nice how they play up to one thing and then reverse it as they are about to. And, of course, she's trying to cool him down, show his little interest, reverse interest, the lack of it. But he doesn't let up. So she grabs her stuff and she's taken off. And when she's actually leaving, she's not going to be there to talk with him anymore. Suddenly, Charles Embry bursts out with, would it be important to you if I told you when I worked at the Hinckley plant, I destroyed documents? What? Bingo. Sounds like a smoking gun to her, right? And next, watch what happens next, though. That is Stunning Surprise, too. But watch how it is played out. she's getting rattled with Charles. Says, can you just wait here. I got to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back, I promise, And she goes running out of the bar. And she tries to get her phone, and of course the phone doesn't have any power, and she tries to get change out of her purse, and her purse drops, and the coins fly. And finally, she's so nervous and so excited. What happened?
PowerPoint crashed.
Yes, okay. And she gets Ed on the phone, the attorney, You know, and she gets him all excited too. Oh, well, just don't push him. Let him talk. You know, people like to tell her. And both of them very, very excited. And then she goes back in for a calm conversation with Charles Embry. But the thing is, these extra moments. Susanna Grant wrote the screenplay here of Erin Brockovich, and it is bloody brilliant. She does a number of things, little things like this. This is a stunning surprise, but it is very quiet. It is exactly what the hero needs, but it's kind of downplayed and quiet. So all of a sudden, we take her excitement as the hero, and she runs off and shares her excitement with the mentor, and the moment is built to show us the depth and breadth of what it means to what they are doing. This is it. We have won. And it's added, you know, to give us a sense of that rising excitement. And very wisely, very, very wisely so. Now, back to this problem. The unexpected has struck. Wait a minute. Why has it come back? Sorry. Just give me a couple of seconds here, because I got... Finally get to the juicy stuff. Wouldn't you know? Stunning surprise 2. The plan is blown apart. It's the hero's darkest hour. As soon as I get this back up again, I got to take you through this stuff. Please. You have been so patient, and you've hung in so well. And yes, all of this is going to a destination. And it's an important destination. And I hope you'll be intrigued by it. We shall see. Getting warmer. The wheel of death. I don't know. Wheel of death. Okay. Well, did you stretch?
Yeah.
Not much of a stretch. Nah. We don't let you get away with much around here. Okay. This is the summary of type B. Okay. Biggest reversal, yes, takes place in an instant. Shocks and surprises. But here, the hero's victory is delivered. You win. There is still an obligatory scene to come, and a highly unusual and extraordinarily emotionally fulfilling one, too, when she goes back to the office and she lays into the in a comical way, lays into the 2 stuffed shirt attorneys they've gone into business with and all kind of stuff. So she gets another victory. She gets a social-like victory that is on top of this one. But this is the fact. Act 3 better be short. When this happens, you get a short 2 more hero goal sequences. And we'll talk about that right now. All right. Take a breath. There are 2 things that drive all screenplays that work, all of them. Visual stories. 2, one is conflict. You got to have lots and lots and lots of it, and if you have weak conflict, or not very interesting conflict, you're going to lose your audience. But the second one is a bit of an abstraction that haunted me for years, which is you also have to have change. The story flow absolutely needs to be changing as you go forward. It has to be developing going forward. And I found it impossible to teach that. You know, that was it's one of those things. There's an instinct you have or you don't have kind of thing. But it infuriated me. I've always felt that there was something there that could be teachable. So that's when I went into the weeds and the jungles for a few years and started watching movies over and over and over and over, trying to find a pattern in change that had not yet been codified. I know that's a pretty outrageous thing to say and to be looking for. And I was shocked more than anyone when I actually realized I was looking at one. There is a pattern to change in these films, in the way they speak to the human mind and emotions and process this information of story to make it emotionally fulfilling. There is a unit of change that you can get your hands on. And it seemed to me, if you could truly codify the length and content of one unit of change, you might really have something in terms of the most useful tool for outlining a feature film I've ever seen anywhere else. And I try to stay on top of these things. Define the size and content of the units of change in successful screen stories, and you can build a more effective way to write screenplays. And this is a fact. And the unit of change that I found, I named hero goal sequences. Again, because that refers to actions rather than abstractions. Here are the definitions. I'm going to read these. I don't want to, muff it, so I'm going to read it. A hero goal sequence. We're talking about a unit of change. A hero goal sequence consists of 3 to 7 pages of screenplay. There's wiggle room there. I've seen them at 2 pages. I've seen them at 9 pages. Generally, 3 to 7 pages of screenplay, wherein a hero pursues one short-term physical goal as one step toward achieving the overarching goal of the whole story. Then the hero discovers, in pursuit of that one short-term goal, some form of what I call fresh news, some sort of information or object that they happen into that is one of the, you've got to have so many surprises for an audience in a feature film. It is one of the small surprises. And you say, that's interesting. And that fresh news puts an end to the current short-term goal and offers up the next short-term goal, and the next hero goal sequence begins. This is a schematic of it. I started at 1, Okay, so you come here, you got a goal, you're searching for the goal, and then boom, fresh news. It is a mini, mini, mini stunning surprise. Mini. It's not the big thing. And all of a sudden, this goal comes to an end. It's not needed anymore, or it's completed, or whatever. Then boom, you're up to the next level of involvement and interest and growing tension in the story. Here's an example, concrete time. Gravity. How many of you have not seen Gravity? Okay. I've decided I think we're going to look at Gravity in here because there's so much to be learned from that film. But here is where it starts. Hero goal 1 in Gravity is the ordinary world of the hero. The hero of that movie is Sandra Bullock, who plays Dr. Ryan Stone, who is in space working on space station because of a deep, deep wound that she received when her 4-year-old daughter fell off of a jungle gym and died. She lost her daughter and her meaning of life in a freak accident. And she is so profoundly in grief, what she has done is gone as far away from life and the earth as she can possibly get, into total silence, the depth of silence of space. So she is up there and she's doing her work, and her goal is to work in space without thinking or feeling. Fresh news, and that sequence also establishes other members of the crew, and it establishes her mentor character, the George Clooney character. Kowalski, I think was his name. And fresh news after X number of minutes is Houston suddenly calls and says, "Abort mission, return immediately. A wide swath of space junk is heading right at you." And now they're scrambling and trying to get inside with the other astronauts. I think there's 3 of them out there working at the time. And she's caught up in what she's doing. She's trying to finish and reboot, you know. She's being focused on that. And Kowalski keeps saying, get inside now. And you can't move too fast in spacesuits and all that. And fresh news, so get inside the spacecraft and return right away. And fresh news becomes they don't make it. The debris storm hits, and they're right in its path. Then that becomes hero goal sequence 3, which is do everything you can to survive the debris storm. You see, those are actions that pile up on each other. This is just one taste. I mean, I'm going to have your head spinning with perhaps you think too much of this stuff going forward in the course. But this is the ticket, guys. This is a secret. And here's the weird part. This is what I wanted to get to finally. Thank you for hanging in. Through technical disaster and all. Okay. This is what Act 1 looks like. Act 1, listen, you know, hear this. I'm still astounded, but this is true. Act 1, in any motion picture that works for audiences and was a big hit, Act 1 of all of them, no matter their genre, have 6 hero goal sequences in it. 6. Not 5, not 7. 6. And stunning surprise 1 always appears in hero goal 6. Always. It never fails. If the movie doesn't work, then that's not the case. I invite you to, and I've done a lot of it too. You've got to watch bad movies too. But from now on, when you see bad movies, I don't want to hear just, I didn't like it, it stinks. You got to tell me why it stinks. Where did they fail in their mission to bring you emotion? How did they blow it? I want you to be able to spot, and you will soon enough, be able to spot exactly why it didn't work. Okay, and the weirdness continues. Here's the graph of Act 2. Act 2 is broken in half by the midpoint sequence. The first half of Act 2 contains another 6 hero goal sequences. And the midpoint sequence, and every good movie has a really good midpoint sequence, and that's saying something because these aren't easy at all. And the midpoint sequence always appears in hero goal sequence number 12. Always. And in the second half of Act 2, there's another, guess what? Another 6 hero goal sequences. And stunning surprise 2 always appears in hero goal sequence 18. Not in 19, not in 17 or 16, in 18, in every movie that works emotionally for audiences. Act 3 is the only place it can vary. Act 3 contains between 2 and 5 hero goal sequences. There's a minimum of 2 because, remember, there is the obligatory scene and the denouement. 2 things are critical, and they have to happen in Act 3. And they each need their own goal sequence. So that's why the minimum is 2. And the maximum is 5. But hear me, please. There are a few really good movies. I mean, my favorite romantic comedy of all time, As Good as It Gets, it has 5. But it has to wrap up so much, and there are so many important relationships that have to be wrapped up in Act 3. Okay, we cut it some slack. I am asking you, short of begging, do not go with 5 hero goal sequences in your Act 3. It makes the act too long, and your audience gets restless The stories or movies we go to and we feel that they keeps ending over and over and it's still ending kind of thing. That is the feeling you're in danger of creating. Keep Act 3 short. That is what it's meant to be. The average for a successful Hollywood movie that is loved all over the world, the average is 21. In other words, 3 hero goal sequences in Act 3. Here's a graph of the entire thing. And here is your challenge. This, I believe, is extraordinarily good news for you. You now know in advance exactly how much story your screenplay is going to need if it is to be a hit with audiences, if it is to affect them and connect with them emotionally. This is what it needs to be. And believe me, I'm setting out to prove it to you, and I will prove it to you this semester in spades that it's true, and it's true across all genres, because this is about, this takes us back to Greece. This is about speaking to how your audience absorbs the ritual of story. That's what it's speaking to. But here's the problem with it. I mean, this is really, I think, enormously useful and valuable knowledge, but take a look at the number of little surprises you have to come up with. I've had grad students, working on, in some of the actual writing courses, and working on stuff, and they said, "Oh, Eric, I only got 4 sequences in the second half of Act 2. That's all I can think of. That's all I got. Can't I just have 4 in the second half of Act 2?" And the old taskmaster shakes his head. "No, I'm sorry. If you can only come up with 4, that means you have to go back in your story to find why that is true. It's telling you that your earlier story has not been built in such a way that this can be provided as you go forward. You have to go back to your basics, that kind of thing." So in other words, this is your challenge. This is an incredible challenge to wrestle with. So grit your teeth, because that's the facts, guys. And here's what it is accomplished by knowing this, which I think is enormously useful. It shows you in advance exactly how much plot you need, exactly how many times, sequences of change you're going to have to arrange and invent. One of the things about it, it's in the book, and we'll talk about this stuff too later, but for instance, another thing about the hero goal sequences, you cannot repeat. You cannot have 2 hero goal sequences that are basically the same. If you have one that is sort of the same of something that has preceded, you then have to add to it something major that changes it and makes it unique before you can use it. It shows you exactly how much plot you need, and sometimes this is cold chills at night because it's a lot of plot. It ensures that the hero will always be active. One of the 2 or 3 most deadly things that kill so many scripts from neophytes is a passive hero. Think the kind of story that things happen to the hero, and the hero doesn't happen to the story, driving the story forward on their own. It doesn't work like that. If you do this, the hero is always active. 21 times they are in pursuit of a physical goal. They can never be passive. And what's interesting is that's what happens in movies that connect with audiences. The heroes are not passive, ever. They're doing something that moves the story forward. The story will never sag, that's built in. And what we know is that this is the best, you are building something for the best possible emotional involvement of your audience. We're talking psychology here, really. That's truly what it is. This is kind of a finger on a certain kind of absorption of a ritual. This is what brings emotion and pleasure to an audience, and that's what you have to wrestle with. Oh, yeah. And this is good, too. A lot of people talk about this. A lot of the grad students go back to their closets and pull out old stuff. You know, you got a half a script here and there you gave up in high school or something like that. You thought you were going to go somewhere. And, or you pull out old scripts. You finished a draft, maybe a couple of 3 drafts, but it just never quite worked. Didn't never sailed. You know, a couple people read it and, you know, they weren't into it. Put it away. Take it out. Take this paradigm and lay it over your older screenplay, and it will show you exactly why that script didn't work. It'll show you only 2 or 3 interesting things happen in Act 1, you know, or maybe only 3 or 4 interesting things happened in Act 2. No, that's not enough. I think you're finally off the hook, you know? Okay, you're right. See, you survived. Thank you for your patience through glitches and all, and allowing me to get through this. I know it was a lot to sit through. Questions? Any questions? We're going to take a break. You finally get to go to the bathroom. And when you come back, it'll be just us, and we can relax a bit and talk about some of this stuff. And any questions you want to throw out, have at me. Okay? So thanks. Break time.